Today is a sewing day. If you'd like to spend the day with me in my sewing room or at my little sewing space, stay tuned. My name is Cynthia and you're watching Mountain Accent Sewing. And my channel is mainly about sewing, but I do like to share nature and life and other content. Today I am taking some time for me and I'm going to spend some time in the sewing room. But I also would like your help, and I'll talk more about that near the end of this video. My last video, I featured the Noodlehead Range Backpack, and that was going to be a slow sewing project for me to help me hopefully get my sewjo back, and it worked. So it turned into a quick win, and you can go back and watch that video to learn more about my thoughts on sewing that pattern. But Anna at Noodlehead has a lot of great patterns, and I thoroughly enjoyed sewing this one. So go check that out. But it did help me restore my desire to sew. Let's talk a little bit about why I haven't felt like sewing, and then we'll talk about what I'm working on next, or currently, today. Hopefully we'll get a lot accomplished today. There's been several reasons why I haven't felt like sewing this past year or the last few months, but one of them I'll talk about now is that my body has been changing so much, and it makes it frustrating to pick a pattern, choose the right size, and sew it, and figure out whether it's going to suit me or not. Because after going through menopause, my body has been changing a lot in ways that I didn't expect it to, and then some ways that I did expect. But it's just realistic for a woman of my age that when you go through menopause and the change of life, your body changes whether you want it to or not. And so that played a key part in what I decided to sew. And it's something that's taken me totally out of my comfort zone, but hopefully it's going to turn into another winning project. I told you in one of my last videos that I've been wanting to make a dress, and I actually looked at 3 different dress patterns, and one of them was the Atelier Jupe Pippa 2.0, and I still want to sew it. But the fabric that I want to sew it in is one of my Think Pink subscription box fabrics. And I'm just not sure at my current size whether I can get the dress out of that 2.5. Because when I looked at their size chart, it's saying that I need closer to 3 meters. I am going to attempt to cut it out of the 2.5 meters, but I've yet to trace the pattern and lay it on the fabric to see if it's going to work. So that is still something that I would like to do sometime this fall. The other dress that I have considered making, and I should have grabbed the pattern because I will not remember the number, but I will insert a picture so you'll know what I'm talking about. And it is a McCalls pattern that came out several years ago and was very popular in the sewing community, but it is a wrap top with a gathered skirt. And the pattern comes in several different lengths and sleeve options. And I thought about making that, and I have cut it out, and I am going to do a bodice muslin. I'm not going to test the entire dress, but I am going to test the bodice. So that brings me to one of my issues that I'm having with my body right now, even whether it's ready to wear or whether it's something that I've made, is that my bust measurement is what has changed the most that I wasn't expecting. I guess that I didn't realize just how much that area of your body changes. And I bought this ready to wear wrap dress that I was hoping that I would be able to wear to a couple of weddings. We do have 2 weddings coming up at the end of this month. They're both on the same day, about an hour apart, and we're going to attempt to go to both of them because One's a very close family friend, the other one's a relative. And we've already responded that we would, yeah, we'll go to your weddings. And then when we received the invitations, they're on the same day. So I ordered a dress thinking I wouldn't have time to make one. And the wrap, yeah, my bust will not fit in that top. They're falling out. And so, and I don't have time to test a bodice myself, because I even considered doing the Deer and Doe Magnolia dress, but I knew that it is low cut and that I would need to adjust that. And that was the same concern I had with the McCalls pattern. So I opted not to do either of those dresses. That brings me to what I am going to make, and hopefully it's going to work out so that I can wear this dress to these weddings. It is difficult to get the FibreMood magazine in the US. I have purchased one issue before, I think from the Fold line, and then with the changes in the tariffs and different things, they no longer ship to the United States. And I have been wanting to buy another issue because I have tried 2 FibreMood patterns and I love both of them. I'll insert a clip or picture here of, I made the FibreMood Clover jeans. There's a pattern review video for that you can go back and watch. And then I also made the FibreMood Griselda sweater as part of my hashtag Fabric Wheel of Fate series. And you can go watch that playlist if you want to learn more about that. Now the sweater, the Griselda sweater, I've not got an opportunity to wear that much because it's just been too hot. And I made this when the weather was still changing from spring to summer. And hopefully once the weather cools down, I'll get to wear it. Like everywhere else, our weather has been all over the place, but mostly it's been hot and humid. Started off earlier in the summer being really dry, and now we've been having a lot of thunderstorms and rain. And so it's just been the full gamut of weather. So my goal is, I'm hoping that at the end of this month that it's still going to be warm enough, because I'm going with a sleeveless dress. And it is one of the dresses featured in this issue of the FibreMood magazine. I believe this is issue number 38. Yep, issue number 38. And this is a little cute top that's even on the front cover. I'm not sure if I would ever make it, but I might. And there's several cool patterns in this issue, but the dress is here. So let's talk a little bit about the dress. I printed out the instructions. Now in the magazine, you do get a little diagram and some very, diagrams that shows you your instructions, but you can go to the FibreMood website and download the complete instructions in English as well as some other languages. So I did do that. And I'm not sure how well this is going to show up, but it does have a center front seam and a center back seam. It is sleeveless. It's got a higher neck, and it does have a split in the back. The Lumen comes in either a top or a dress. Here's the line drawing. And I really love the way she is wearing it with sandals and a long necklace. It's simple yet elegant. And so I decided to make this. Now I've got the fabric cut out, and I'm going to work on sewing it today. This is the beautiful fabric I have chosen for my dress. It's got these gorgeous purple and teal and golden tan color. This fabric came from Beyond the Pink Door, and I don't recall the exact composition. I'm not sure if she still has it in stock. I purchased it, I think, last year. And I bought it with intentions of making the doe Magnolia dress. But when I was trying to choose the fabric for the dress for this wedding, this was the fabric that spoke the most to me. I thought it would make a gorgeous wedding dress. And I had this 4-meter cut, and I think it's either a tinsel or a lensing viscose. I have more here than what I needed for the dress because I still got probably 1.5 meters left. Because I had, I think I had 4 meters of that. And this dress, I think it calls for, if I recall when I looked in the magazine, that I would need maybe 2.5 or 3 meters. And I did use closer to, I think, like the 2.5 to 3 meters. So I do have like 1 meter and then like a couple of little strips, but odd shaped. And let's see if I can get this dress made for the wedding. You'll see that it has a split hem, and it does have hem facings, and then facings that I think that goes around the arms, and at the back there is a keyhole opening and a sew-on snap closure that it recommends for that. For the Lumen dress, the most important measurement is the bust measurement. And then it kind of has an A-line shape that kind of skims over the rest of your body. And I'm hoping that it will skim over my curves and not accentuate them. Okay, so the Lumen dress comes in an extra small all the way to a triple XL, which is the equivalent of a size 4 to 32. So essentially it's a 76 centimeter bust all the way up to a 146 centimeter bust. I calculated my bust measurement in centimeters to see where I fell for my bust, and then on the pattern measurements, it has which is basically your finished garment measurements. It also has the measurements for the bust, waist, and hip. And I've calculated that it would be about a 3-inch ease in the bust if I went with the size that it recommended for me. And I looked at it, and I'm kind of between two measurements. And it does recommend that if you are in between sizes, to go up a size. And that is what I chose to do. With FibreMood patterns, when you buy them in the magazine, they come nested. So this is the pattern section. Now I've separated them out because I was tracing them. They do come nested, and they're color coded. There's a key here on the side that showed that the lumen was in red. So I had to trace all the pattern pieces for the pattern sheets that had this key on it. I had to trace them in the size that I needed. Now normally you would add your seam allowance to the pattern after you've traced it, but because I had to go up to the next size, and I felt like there was a big jump between the measurements for the size that I most closely fit to, but it wouldn't give me quite enough ease to the next one. It would give me too much ease. So I have opted to cut out that larger size, and I'm going to not add seam allowance. I didn't add seam allowance because I'm going to use it from the pattern piece, so that should take it down a little bit smaller. The great thing about choosing the larger size is that when I use the whatever seam allowance that I go with, whether I think it recommends like a 1 centimeter seam allowance, but I will be able to adjust that if I need to take the dress in a little bit more, because I think that the current pattern piece that I've cut out may give me too much ease, but with it having that center front seam and the center back seam and the side seams, I should be able to take it in a little bit if I need to because I need it to fit closer to my bust. Hopefully I can get it 3 or 4 inches of ease. And then great, I can't get my words out. Basically, I should be able to fit it better. But I knew that if I went with the smaller size, that if it didn't fit, then I would be out of luck. So I opted to go with this larger size. So hopefully I can get the fit that I need and get this dress made before the end of the month. The tracing paper I like to use the most is put out by Pattern, and it is 830 Easy Pattern paper, and it feels more like a fabric. It is more flexible, and you can iron it, and you can see through it, and that is the most important part for me. Is when I'm tracing patterns, sometimes it's hard to see the lines, but now I actually found that one very easy with it being color coded, and then using this fabric, this Pattern tracing paper, that I was able to trace it out with no issues. I just got through changing out my needle and thread. I store my needles in here, and for this project I'm using a Microtech 70 needle. It's a Schmetz needle. I've got that installed, and I'm using purple Lumen thread, and I'm going to do a test stitch. Always keep little scraps of fabric so that I can test it. So my test stitch looks good. I think I'm ready to sew. Working on getting this cut out and ready to sew for a while. I cleaned house early this morning and then decided that I would work on this sewing project. I did all my tracing out yesterday and got the pattern pieces prepped, but then I spray starched this fabric. Forgot to mention that earlier before I cut out the pieces. And so you've got 2 front bodice pieces, and they require bust darts. And then you have 2 back pieces. You have your hem facings, and there are a total of 3 pattern pieces for facings. One of those is for that keyhole opening, and the other 2 are like for the hem and I think the armholes. I'm not quite sure how the rest of the neck is finished. I think this pattern may call for some bias bonding, but we'll see here in a little bit. I have the bust darts pinned, and now I'm going to sew them and then press them. So I've sewn my bust darts and I've pressed them down, and I was reading the next step, and it is saying to finish your raw edges with an overlock stitch. So I am going to actually do that on my overlocker, but it shows you doing at the neck all the way down the center or the side seams and the center front seam. So I'm going to do that step next. And then after that, we're going to pin and sew the center front seam, and we're going to press it open. I came close to making a mistake, and I'm going to show you in the instructions and in the picture in the magazine and on my fabric, so you'll see what I'm talking about. And that way, if you go to make this dress, you'll also be able to catch it. I caught it just in time. I've overlocked all my edges on the front pieces and my back pieces, as well as the facing that goes at the neck. And then I went to read the instructions on the sewing instructions. Right here, it tells you to pin and press the center front seam of the front piece and press your seam allowance open. Now, I don't know how well it's showing up in the diagram, but remember the bust darts that I sewed a few moments ago? It is showing the bust darts being at the center front seam. Typically your bust darts are on the outside at your side seams, and I thought, oh, they've made a mistake in their instructions. But I decided to go look in the magazine to see if it said anything different and to look at the image, and I'm glad I did. So when I went to the instructions at the back, of course, it is just images like this with no written instructions, but it showed the exact same seam being sewn. So I come and looked at her image. Right here, you'll see that those bust darts are at the center front. They are not at the side. So that's a very clever, I guess, detail. I've never sewn a garment that had this type of bust dart at the center seam. So it'd be interesting to see what difference it makes on my body when I try the dress on later. I don't know if I'll get to that today. There may be a part 2 coming because I've still got to go get groceries. So I don't think I'm going to get as much sewing done as I'd hoped. So there will be probably a part 2 for this dress. But yeah, we are going to sew the center front seam with this bust dart in the center. And that is a 1 centimeter seam allowance. I've sewn the center front seam. I want to pan down in just a moment so you can see where that bust dart is. Took my microphone off so that I wouldn't scuff it. But let's take a look at what it looks like. I'm not sure if you can see where that bust dart is, but it lies here. And in this busy print, it kind of just blends in. And I won't be sure until I sew up the rest if I've got the placement right. Like I said earlier, I did go up to the larger size, which was quite a bit of difference in the ease, but it also made a difference in the shoulder height. It might be that I should have went with my size but graded out, but I won't know that till I get more done. But I am going to stop here for today because I do have quite a few errands to run. Still got to get groceries. And then if I got time to come back and sew later, I might sew some later today. But I'm going to put that in part 2. So this is part 1 of the wedding dress, but I'm really loving this fabric. What do you think? Yep, so I will come back later in part 2. And I want to put in a few closing words, so I hope you'll stay tuned and listen to that, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to close this video by talking a little bit about my channel and about changes that YouTube's making and how you can help me. This channel I started as a hobby, a way to meet other sewing friends. However, I had in the back of my mind that someday I would like to monetize it, which I am in the YouTube Partner Program, but I am not fully monetized. I haven't reached the 4,000 watch hours. And many of you have seen that they are changing that starting in February 2027, that it will go from 4,000 to 8,000. And so I've had to think, if I want to reach 4,000 before the deadline, that I'm going to have to up my game and put out more content, because I was doing it, maybe 1 or 2 videos a month, and then like taking kind of a hiatus over the summer. I think I still managed to get maybe 1 video out per month, but it's hard to create content when you have a full-time job and you have other life responsibilities. It is a hobby, but I would like to reach the 4,000 watch hours, because it'd be nice to be monetized, or know that I could be if I chose to in the future to put more effort into it. And I am going to attempt, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try to put out 1 video a week. I do like doing the Friday sews videos, but they're more difficult for me to put out, because it's hard for me to film the content and get it put out on a Friday. So I'm trying to decide. I will put out a video either on a Sunday or a Monday. I haven't decided which day yet, but that is going to be my goal. So look for me every week at the beginning of the week. Stay tuned. I'll let you know which day that I decide to go with, whether it's Sunday or Monday, but I'm going to try to be consistent with that. And then if something else comes up, I may have a one-off video, but I'll try to do a weekly catch-up. If you will like my video, comment, and share the video, or tell your friends about me if you think they're interested in this type of content. Or if you want to just let my videos play in the background while you're cleaning house or whatever, I would love for you to help me reach 4,000 watch hours. And also, in the idea of helping one another, if you are a small YouTuber like me and you need help reaching 4,000 watch hours, please put your channel name in the comments below. I'd like to give a shout out to anyone else that is still struggling a little bit to reach your goals. Please, I want to help. I'd like for your help. And if you have a channel and you want to give me a shout out, I would love that also. I know that Samantha at Sequin Girly Creates, she started a hashtag small sewing channel a few years ago, where she was giving shout outs to smaller channels and encouraged other people to give shout outs to other small channels. And I'm hoping that it'll be in this kind of concept. But at the time that she put out her initial call to calling out other channels was to increase subscribers, which we still want to increase subscribers, but the goal now is we really need to focus on getting our watch hours up. And so thank you, Samantha, for creating that hashtag. And I want to call out her. She may already be over the 4,000, but I know she is a great supporter of small YouTubers. And I'm going to give Samantha at Sequin Girly Creates a shout out. And let me know again in the comments if there's a way that I can help you as a YouTuber. And I appreciate all your support and for sticking with me these past few years in my hobby. And I hope you'll help me take it to the next level.